Hello, hello. We would continue our journey of building our portfolio app. In our previous video, we have seen the small updates of our portfolio. Today, we would see the major updates. The updates we have termed it or tagged it into version, let's say version 2.0 and 3.0 of the complete portfolio application, and we will see how we are trying to evolve the basic architecture which we have done into a step by step journey to make it much more than the portfolio, to make it much more than the portfolio basic portfolio application, and today we would see all that. Before that, I would like to showcase what are those. We would go step by step. We would see the complete architecture. We would see the code walkthrough as well for those architecture, and we would have a detailed overview, the architecture point of view from the AWS perspective as well as from the code perspective. We'll see everything. So be with me for this tutorial. So let's get started. First and foremost, I'll head back to Xlate. Here I'll keep it in the left view, or I'll keep it in the right view. First and foremost, I would like to explain the portfolio version 2, what exactly has changed from version 1 to version 2. If you see in the version 2 of the application, we have something called serving serving the HTML pages, serving the HTML pages from the S3. That is version 2 of the complete portfolio. What do I mean by that? So if you remember, there was this articles page. Let me make this on the okay let me make okay let this be here. So if you remember, there was this articles page where we are trying to have different articles, right? Let's say from local host to live on AWS, or we have from okay, the application the article was not loading. I was like, what exactly has happened? So let's say we have this from Git to global impact engineering and HIV awareness platform. So we have multiple articles, so this articles right now, if you see, this has been hosted in the version 1. This has been hosted inside the dist folder. That's what we have done for this article. So all this articles has been hosted in the dist folder in the React application. But we wanted to not just host from the dist folder, because this is a big these are the big articles, right? We want to separate these articles out of the dist folder and want to host it in a separate S3. What do I mean by that? So firstly, I have created an S3, a S3 called portfolio articles tsabunkar.com, and here I have all the articles which were which are getting hosted here. All these articles are now deployed in S3. They are no more coming from the dist folder of tsabunkar. You remember, there is the complete deployed application is the complete deployed application is here. We don't have this portfolio articles. We don't have this articles coming from this main T Sabunkat portfolio. Rather, it is from this S3, huh? So how do I ensure this is happening? For example, maybe I'll quickly load this. So this article, you see the URL, right? The tsabunka.com/articles slash localhost AWS. But as I said, this has been rendered as well from the S3. So if what did I do? So if I try to open Right now I have opened the same article, maybe not the same one, but okay, maybe I'll quickly open the that article. I think it was the roadmap. Okay, so you see the roadmap from software developer to solutions architect. This was one of the article. So this article has been now opened in tsavunkas.com/article slash developer to arc roadmap. Check the URL. If and this URL has been loaded from https/tsavunkar.com/article slash developer to architect roadmap, right? But this URL is routing to the route table, then DNS, the CDN, the same flow, huh? But rather than getting it getting it viewed from the tsabunkar.com, or getting it hosted in the tsabunkar.com portfolio application itself, which is under the dist folder, it is now being hosted from the, or it has now been linked towards this S3, the S3 portfolio articles.tsabunkar.com, which we have seen here, right? So now this has been loaded from here, huh? You see, if I directly call this file inside the S3 tsabunkar.com portfolio articles slash developers to architect roadmap dot html, so you see, you can see this HTML file. I'm trying to directly render it, right? Rather than containerizing inside this portfolio app inside the dist folder, it is now directly, I'm able to load this HTML directly inside the browser. The key difference is that I am trying to call this HTML file directly rather than following the containerized website, which is in the containerized website inside the dist folder, huh? That's the reason why you don't see the header or the footer. You see there is an header, there is a footer, and there is a listen to article. You don't see all that here. When I directly load this HTML file, you don't see a footer, you don't see an header, you don't see that listen feature, the listen to article, right? Like I can directly play here. You don't see all this feature because this is directly loaded from the S3. I've just the yellow path. If you follow the yellow path, it is directly loading the file from the S3, which is under portfolio articles.tsabunkar. It is not. It is no more coming it from the dist folder, the portfolio dist folder. So that is a major version 2 of this portfolio app. Why did I do that? What is the big advantage of doing that? The big advantage I can see is that all the articles would be deployed in the S3, a separate bucket. And if the user is not interested, let's say if the user is not interested to visit the articles, it will be much more faster. And if the user is interested, let's say Shahrukh Khan is interested to read an article, so he would also, only his path would be directing it to this specific HTML. So if I want to showcase that, so I'll open the network tab quickly. You see, the application is not loaded at the start. The request is happening based on the interest of the user. So as I was saying, if Shahrukh Khan is interested to read this article, only then he is trying to invoke this developers to article roadmap.html file, which has been rendered inside the portfolio application, the header and the footer, and that HTML file is deployed here. And only on the request basis we are rendering the article, which means we are not completely loading it at the start. So the load time of the complete application has decreased. The deployment time also, from the developer's perspective, the deployment time of the overall application has decreased, because you're only deploying to the specific articles when there is a new article I have written it, or you're only deploying the complete dist folder when there is a new feature added on the portfolio app. So the deployment time has been decreased because we have separated or segregated that. Similarly, the load time of the complete application, the complete front-end application, has decreased because you're only making the network call based on the request if the user is interested to read the article, rather than completely deploying it or completely loading it at the start, something what lazy loading does in Angular world. So this is the major update in terms of architect. So that's why, in terms of architecture, that's why I've named it as portfolio version 2 update. So major update, right? Major release. So that is one quick update. Now we would see the next update, which is quite interesting. So after version 2.0, I was like, okay, what else can I think about? So then I was like, why don't I have an admin page? So we will see something of version 3.0 where we will have an admin page. And what does that admin page does? A lot of new concepts we will learn. So be with me. It will be quite interesting, the journey. And we will see the version 3.0. It is from the version 1 of the portfolio app. We have seen the version 2, but the version 3, it's bit more complicated, I would say. But if you go with the complication mindset, it would seems much more complicated. But let's deep dive into it to see. We will try to simplify as much as possible during this tutorial, but trust me, this is quite interesting when we see how the version 3 has been evolved, right? So first I'll try to explain the overall. First I'll showcase the feature, how the version 3 of the application looks. Okay, what is the admin page looks like. So we'll first see the overall feature of the application in the website, in the portfolio app. Then we would have a look on the how part. How is it functioning? How the working is happening? And then we would see each and every detailed overview of this by doing the code walkthrough. Before that, I quickly remember I did not explain the code walkthrough of this, the version 2 part. So I'll quickly jump onto the code, how exactly it is happening. Maybe I'll close this. Uh, so as I said, the articles, now the articles are under, maybe I'll close all. If you go under infra, all the HTML files of this articles which have been served is under infra articles, and all these articles have been deployed here in this HTML file. In this S3 bucket, all this HTML file has been deployed here. Okay, and you see this is a complete HTML file, one big HTML file consisting of the complete article view. And yeah, majorly that. Okay, heading back to the version 3, we were speaking about the version 3 of the article. So okay, before that, I wanted to showcase the overview of the application. So what happens is, now if I go on to the admin, I think I've already logged in. Let me log out. So when you go to the admin page, tsabunka.com/admin, this admin is not, the link is not there anywhere. When you don't have the URL path, it is something I wanted to keep it hidden. So I know that now even everyone knows now because I'm making a tutorial of it. But I wanted to keep it hidden, not in the home page. So if somebody invokes this https tsabunkar.com/admin. Then they go to the admin login, right? Here in this admin login, first you need to enter the username, which is what we do. You enter a password, then you enter a two-factor authentication. Trust me, we'll learn everything about how to implement a two-factor authentication. We will learn about the basic authentication, the authorization part. We'll go through with the code, everything we'll do it. Just hold on with me. So here, the username, the password, then the authenticator code. I'll try to quickly show. Maybe I'll turn my camera on. Uh, the authenticator code, if I can show. So I have an authenticator code. I'm trying to put that value. And when I click sign in, it has, it captures my image. So what exactly has happened? So first it had asked username, password, the the two-factor authentication with the authenticator app. Then there was a three-factor authentication where it has captured the image, and then it got to know whether who is trying to log in. Basically, it is trying to have the three-factor authentication, that it is trying to validate with the first factor authentication with username, password, with the second factor authentication with the authenticator app with TOTP token, which is nothing but time based one time password token. Then with the three factor, it is turning on the camera for 3 seconds. It lets you be, and then it captures the image, and it verifies whether this image is the image of Tejas, and then it would let the login happens. So it is trying to validate a sort of a three factor authentication to ensure that the admin who is trying to log in is none other than Tejas itself. Huh? So that is what I have tried to implement here with three factor authentication. And once I'm in, I can see the URL. It is admin/dashboard. So under tsabunkar.com, I'm in admin, I'm in dashboard. I can see the AWS cost usage over 364 days. Over an year, I have already spent around $107. Quite expensive. My daily average is around 0.3. This month I've already or I'm expected to shoot up till $7.5. This week it is 0.86, and from last 2 days I've been spending around $0.28 on my AWS cost. Huh? And I can see the complete cost usage based on the date. If I hover it, for example, here there is a peak, 2.5 dollar on 1st of July. That was the cost of this. Similarly, the highest peak was around 1st of March. It was the highest peak, around $7 I have spent already because of different usage of my AWS service. Majorly, by service, if I want to look how where am I spending a lot, I'm spending majorly on the Amazon Bedrock edition, the serverless part. I have already paid around $24. Then for the EC2 compute, EC2 EC2 compute part, I have spent around 20, and then the taxes 16, EC2 others 11, so on and so forth. And then I also have a view, not just the AWS cost and usage by services or the daily cost, but I also have the view on something called the YouTube channel, because I already have my YouTube channel, and I wanted to know what how many subscribers I have, how many videos I have uploaded, and how many views I have. So this I can already quickly show you in my studios.youtube.com. I have around this is my content. Maybe in analytics I can find it. This is the channel analytics. Yeah, you see, 34 subscribers, 34 subscribers, so on and so forth, right? The complete view of my YouTube, I wanted to have it here when I try to log in as an admin to see how I'm growing. At least the basic stats, I wanted to have it. So that is visible here. Then the GitHub contribution, how much of the GitHub contribution I'm trying to do. This is something I'm trying to use it from my T Sabunkar. This contribution heat map of the GitHub, how much I'm trying to do the contribution. I can have that view similarly here as well into my the dashboard, into my dashboard panel. I'm I would like to improvise this dashboard in future, but right now just the three view of the GitHub contribution in terms of code, the YouTube channel, how it is growing, how many views I'm trying to get, as well as the AWS cost usage, to know in case if I'm trying to overshoot any of the day, right? Or last 2 days, how it is performing, or how is my daily average usage, so on and so forth. So that would be really helpful for me. I have not called this as a dashboard, I've called it as a control center. You would see why, because my ideology is that I would try to keep this as a control center, that since I have made it three factor authenticated, that means it is only me who can log in, I guarantee. And on top I would have some sort of a control center, which means I have would have a control buttons over here where I can do certain activities. This is something for the future. I'll keep that surprise later. Trust me, I'm not implemented right now. The complete code, whatever I have it in my local, is already deployed. This is already deployed in the front end. This is not that. Maybe I'll open that code. The complete application has been deployed in the front end. So I've not worked on that, but I have certain ideas. So that's the reason why I've not written dashboard. Rather, I've written control center, which is more than the dashboard. As well, I have something called two-factor setup, where I can, if I want to change my authenticator app setup, we can do that as well from the front end itself. Huh? So we would go through this. We will learn in detail about this, how exactly it happens, the two-factor authentication. I think most of the people are interested for that. But yeah, overall, this is the version 3 of the complete front-end application. Huh? What we are trying to do with the version 3 of the complete application or the portfolio application. Okay. So we are clear about the complete version 3, how exactly it happens. If I try to log out, it logs out. And the version 3 is majorly about admin, the admin login, and what are the options he has to do that. Now we will jump back into the how part, how exactly this is working. First, we will go in terms of architecture, we'll try to understand which are the different AWS components we are trying to use. Then we will go step by step in terms of code and in terms of application, how exactly it is behaving, right? We will do that.